Keep watching The Politics every Friday, 12 p.m. Eastern Time on New York Parrot TV, the voice for humanity.
Good afternoon. I am your new host, Preston Roberts. The old host, Mr. Robert Press, is gone. He left me his press card, so I could use it. And you'll see I'm not wearing and you'll see here's his old tie, the racehorse tie. So,
ladies and gentlemen, now you can see why the U.S. Supreme Court did a bad thing this morning.
Well, wait. Let me introduce you before you do that. And I got to finish my introduction, Anthony. Yes,
sir, Mr. Roberts.
And with the new host, next week we'll be changing the name of the show to from Talking Bronx Politics, because we go beyond Bronx politics, to Talking Bronx Politics and Beyond. Now, let me introduce my co-host, Mr. Anthony RIVIECCIO.
Good morning, everyone. Yes, we will eventually get our name right, Talking Bronx Politics and Beyond. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Professor Anthony RIVIECCIO. As most people know, I have 3 lives. It's my 3rd life that brings me here. My first life is I am an income tax and financial advisor, celebrating my 31st year, July 2nd. So I got an anniversary coming up. My second life is I just finished teaching school for the 5th year. I teach at Parrot College and at Monroe College, business and finance. And my 3rd life that brings me here is that I am the wonderful founder of a Northwest Bronx political organization called Northwest Bronx Democrats.
Okay, now the Supreme Court, Anthony, has done 2 rulings. Yesterday, they shot down the carry, what was it? The gun law that said you couldn't carry a gun. Any comments on that?
Bob, I've got comments on both, and if it's okay with you, we won't go into it, but I am going to sidetrack a little bit into it, because a lot of people have been asking me this week, why is the market doing so good with all this bad news, right? You got the gas tax holiday that Biden is trying to pass, the Ukrainian war still happening, we have supply side chains. So why is the market gone up so good? Well, this is one of the few weeks, I believe, that politics has overridden common sense when it comes to the market. Why? Because, let's be frank, Wall Street is Republican. Wall Street is conservative. Wall Street is very happy about these 2 rulings where you have the right to bear arms unless you're pregnant.
Well, Anthony, I went to the precinct and said, I have my Magnum 45 and I'm going to apply for a permit now and I want to carry it with me. And one of the female police officers said, well, where are you going to put it? I said, I'm going to stick it right down the middle of my pants. And if anybody says anything, I'm going to say I'm well hung. Okay, so let's move on to the second quote. You didn't get that one, did you, Anthony?
No, I'm debating who's saying that. Is it Preston Roberts, Robert Press, or Mr. Best?
This is the new host. The new host, Preston Roberts.
Preston Roberts. So Robert Press is gone.
Yeah, you don't see the guy with the glasses, do you?
Okay.
All right, he's gone. I told you.
Okay.
That's his press card.
We need abortion back.
We
need abortion back.
Well, actually, Anthony, I was riding my bicycle the other day, and I fell over like a certain.
You didn't get that one either, guys. Go ahead.
All right, and I asked him what happened, and he said, "Well, you see, I was riding with Nancy, my vice president, and she said, 'Look over there, Joe.' And I turned my head. I don't know. I felt the bike shake a little, and I fell down. And if you're wondering why I'm saying Vice President Nancy Pelosi, because if you think Kamala Harris is going to take over for me, forget about it. Nancy's going to jump right in there. Once they get rid of me, they're going to get rid of Kamala in the same day. So Nancy Pelosi will be your new president. But let's go back to the Supreme Court with the abortion issue.
Bob, if we were to go by your analysis, which I think is suspect at best, that might be a good thing. Simply because now we know, based on what happened last night, that we will have a president that drinks.
So let's finish the second issue of the Supreme Court. I'm sorry if I digressed a little. I'm sure people like the joke, but the abortion ruling of Roe v. Wade was struck down. So what does that mean, Anthony? You going to be going out with the ladies now?
From a political point of view, Bob, take the subject matters out of it for a second and just look at the bigger sense. If you were to take both rulings together, what they basically say is welcome back to states' rights. Welcome back to allowing each state to dictate what the rules, regulations, rights, liberties, etc. are happening in their state. Yes, abortion is controversial in more ways than one, including as of today, even though we live in a woman majority society, half of the country has anti-abortion laws. So, to me, that's going to be the dividing and deciding factor. Who's talking to us?
What is Kevin Viola riding his bicycle as he's watching us?
Hey, Kev.
But Kevin, you should know that you shouldn't be watching your TV or your phone, I should say, while you're riding your bike. I mean, you'd say to drivers, don't text and drive. So be careful, Kevin. You might fall down like our president did.
Or better yet, Bob, he should be careful of the people that are walking, that are also texting and walking, and they don't know where they're going either.
Right. So we'll continue on those two items a little later with our guest, Mr. Patrick McManus, the Bronx Conservative Party chair, who has a lot to say on the two issues. So let's move into Bidenomics right now, Anthony. How is the country and the economy doing?
Well, Bob, as I started to indicate, I think from an economic point of view, it's a very bad week. From a political point of view, based on which side of the fence you sit on, it could be a very good week or a very bad week. From a stock market point of view, it's a very good week. So as I said a moment ago, how do you decipher all of the economic bad news that has happened over the course of the last week? It's impossible to believe that as we speak, and again, the market closes today at 4 o'clock, so we're not done for the week yet, but we could be looking at a close to over a 4% return for the course of the whole week. The market has had a great week, and obviously, as we know historically, the market is always conceived to be a Republican market, even though eventually that will change because most people today now have their money in the market via their 401k plan. So that will include everyone, not just whites, but blacks, Puerto Ricans, whoever.
So, so how did the Bob Press Index do? Because he jumped off the ledge when he heard all that bad news you were telling him.
Well, the Bob Press Index, it looks like it's going to have a good week. Again, I don't want to comment specifically until the end of the week is here. But, it's good to know that, the Bob Press Index is having a good week because the producer and I were talking during the week and we were debating if we were going to have to buy you another shirt and tie based on what has happened the last several weeks.
Okay, so then maybe I'll go out and look for him and try and revive him then.
That's right. I'm talking. Who am I talking to again?
This is your new host, Preston Roberts.
My new host, Preston Roberts. I don't know why. Every time I keep looking at Preston Roberts, the word abortion comes to mind.
Don't you remember the old show, Sergeant Preston of the Canadian Mountain? What's that?
But I think we're about ready to have a commercial. So, guys, we'll see you in a moment.
America Open Market, AO Market, the best digital market for humanity, is a free multilingual borderless market open to international sellers with various languages included. With America Open Market, you may start selling in minutes after filling out the form. Comprehensive dashboard where you understand your sales, orders, and customers is available. You get paid directly, securely, and instantly on the America Open Market. You can sell your house, car, electronic laptop, CD player, boombox, phone, headphones, furniture, and clothing. and anything on AmericaOpenMarket.com, where all your sales and customer needs are met. Register as a merchant today. You will not regret becoming a vendor at America Open Market. For further inquiries, contact us at aomarket@gmail.com. AO Market, best digital marketplace for humanity.
Okay, let's continue, Anthony, with the gas tax. We were mentioning that the federal government is lowering the gas tax, which means 18 cents off on a gallon of regular, 22 cents off a gallon of diesel.
Well, hold on. I think you're getting a little ahead of yourself. The president has proposed it. That is correct. He is proposing, on average, depending on whether you use, regular or diesel, an average of 20 cents. I'm putting both of them together. About an average of 20 cents per gallon of savings. And it looks like Congress quietly is saying to him, don't do it. Don't put it in our hands, because if you put it in our hands, we're going to vote it down.
Because
so basically, it was another good, I think was a good idea. I proposed it from day one. Saving 20 cents is better than saving 0 cents.
Now, Anthony, it's not a good idea, because when Kathy Hochul did it, gas rose $1 a gallon. When she took down,
it has nothing to do with whether Kathy did it or not. Our gas is linked to federal policy.
Right. And
anything that the city and state does, good or bad, is minuscule.
Right.
Our actions are based. When we're talking gas, we're talking about federal based policy.
And I'm sure our guest
the Congress has already told Joe Biden, Joe, you can propose it, but we're going to shoot it down.
I'm sure our guest will have something to say about our president, because the conservatives really don't like President Biden. They want President Trump back, if he can. Now, let's move on to the subject of rent guidelines. The Rent Guidelines Board met, and how much is your lease going to go up on your apartment, Anthony?
Well, I don't renew this year, so I'm in great shape.
Okay, so if you were to renew this year, what would it be?
When you renew, it's going to be either 1 year at 2.5%, or 2 years at 5%. Of course, you got to make a decision whether you want to live in an area where Jacoby Hospital is about ready to put all of the jailbirds with, but that's your choice. But to answer your question, it's 1 year, 2.5%, 2 year, 5%.
No, Anthony, it's 1 year, 3.5%, 2 years, 5%. I would accept it if I was you.
Thank you.
And about the jail, this is what's being proposed with Jacoby Hospital. It is 100 people, 100. We don't know if they're men. We don't know if they're women, if it's men and women, but 100 people, 60 prisoners from from Rikers, where the Health and Hospitals Corporation already services them. So this way they'll be closer to the unit where they have to be on the hospital grounds. It's also being proposed for North Central Bronx Hospital by you, Anthony.
So I'm very curious about something. So based on what you just said, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe the audience doesn't know, but we'll tell them now that what we're talking about is in the boundaries of Community Board 11, of which you attended a meeting last night. And I understand that there's a new chairman who of course, we both know personally, Yahe Obeid. But my question to you is this. Did Yahe make any statements about that proposal, good or bad, now that he is the chair?
Well, he takes over July 1st, Anthony. The current chair, Al D'Angelo, is still the chair until July 1st.
Right, but did Yahe at yesterday's meeting? I'm asking because I wasn't there. Did he make any statements pro or con?
No, just a few members said something, and there's not enough information about it. Nobody knows. It's a secret by the Health and Hospitals Corporation.
I would beg to differ. It's a secret to the community. The institutions know exactly what they're doing.
Well, I've been trying to get in touch with the Health and Hospitals head, Dr. Mitchell Katz, but that's to no avail. I'm going to have to catch him at a press conference and ask him, like I did with Mayor Adams, about the homeless shelter on White Plains Road. And a couple of weeks later, all of a sudden, that was gone. No more. We're not getting it. So,
well, according to Community Board 11, they did a great job.
Yeah, right. Yeah, sure they did.
I said it according to Community Board 11.
Yeah, they waited from October till January because it was a de Blasio plan, and they figured if we go and ask Mr. de Blasio, pardon me, soon-to-be Congressman Bill de Blasio to stop it, he won't because he proposed it. But, you know, the new mayor, well, he came in, but he kept de Blasio's old staff. So what happens? They just ignored his 3 letters, the chair of the board, Al D'Angelo. I had to catch the mayor, Adams, at Jacoby Hospital where he was presenting something and then just sneaking the question. And you know the answer, Anthony. Remember what he said, that's the longest question I ever got. And like I said, all of a sudden, a couple of weeks later, the borough president comes to the community task force, not the community board, but the community task force that was organized against that white plate.
Robert, I do not live there. I'm aware of, you know, the transgressions that took place, that happened. I think you're overextending that logic a little bit.
No, I'm not, Anthony.
Okay.
Because the elected officials hate to be embarrassed in the media. You should know that from our.
Well, then you're saying, right? Because if you're going to say one thing, then you're also saying the other. So if you're saying that the task force did it, then you're saying Al D'Angelo didn't do his job as chair. You're also saying Yahi didn't do his job as vice chair. You're also saying the communities didn't galvanize and do their job. That's what you're saying.
Not one person. You forgot one person.
Because I rose my hand and asked a 5-minute question.
You forgot one question.
So I want to be clear on that.
Anthony,
you're saying that Community Board 11 didn't do anything.
You forgot the part about the district manager. Where
so
there was
that's what you're saying too. That
nobody
did anything until you asked a 5-minute question.
Let me talk, Anthony. Anthony, let me finish my story.
And Yahi,
Anthony, let me finish.
D'Angelo didn't do anything. Your own president of your own local club, right? My wonderful Edith. You're going to tell me he didn't do anything, right?
Anthony.
You're going to tell me that you asked him a 5-minute question,
Anthony,
right? And he said, and I heard it, I saw it, that it was the longest question. He even forgot probably what it was all about, and that just memorized the whole process.
Anthony, first of all,
I just want to be sure
Anthony,
I'm hearing you correctly.
Let me talk and don't interrupt me.
One of those
Do not interrupt me, please, Anthony. Do not interrupt me. As far as Ms. Edith Blitzer, the former president of the Pelham Parkway Neighborhood Association, she was the one who organized the task force with a few other people, myself included. Okay, so don't say she didn't do anything.
I'm not. No,
don't interrupt me, Anthony. I'm talking. Don't interrupt me. I'm talking, Anthony. Do not interrupt me, Anthony.
Bob, did the task force have 2 chairs?
Yes.
Who were they?
Myself and Hazel Mura.
Well, I haven't heard you mention Hazel once. If I would have asked you, you would have mentioned it. So what is this Bob stuff? I didn't hear you mention Hazel.
Anthony, Hazel is the housing chair on community board.
I know who she is. I'm just saying, I think you're overstretching.
Can I speak? That's all I'm saying. Can I finish my wording? She held a public hearing, and the district manager was supposed to forward the comments to the Department of Homeless Services, which he never did. Okay, so let's just leave it alone.
Wait a minute. So now you're accusing the district manager of not doing his job.
Oh, no, I'm not accusing him. Other people have. Other people have.
Wait. You just said he didn't do something.
Yeah, he didn't.
Then you're accusing him of not doing his job.
Well, I have not accused him. Other people in the community have accused him.
Wow, you can make an accusation and then say I didn't make an accusation.
I'm just saying what other people in the community have said.
Well, Kevin says Al fights hard, and that is a good thing. Not always advocating for the best interests of all of the community, but it is time to step into the 21st century. That's what Kevin said.
Yeah, that's because Al fought the bike lane on Morris Park Avenue, and he fought it hard, just like the former councilman Mark Jonai. But you know what? Speaking of former council members, we're in the middle of a primary right now. Early voting is going on, And June 28th is the primary. So you have today, tomorrow, and Sunday for early voting just left to vote. And Anthony, we have the races are for governor, for lieutenant governor, and here in the Bronx, we have 5 assembly races. The governor's race is Kathy Hochul, Tom Suozzi, and Jumaane Williams on the Democratic side. And on the Republican side, we have Andrew Giuliani, Lee Zeldin, Rob Astorino, and Harry Wilson, I believe is his name. Okay, so there's a primary on both sides. This is one of the first times in a long while that there's a Republican primary. As far as lieutenant governor goes, it's only on the Democratic side. There are 3 candidates. Do you know their names, Anthony?
We're listening to you. Keep going.
Well, I don't. I know that Anthony Delgado is one of them. He was just recently appointed as the lieutenant governor by Kathy Hochul because her first choice, it looks like he's going to jail, or he's been indicted and he stepped down. Well, Anthony, don't you remember, an indictment is not evidence of guilt. All right. So, but Kathy Hochul, by getting rid of him and him, all of this, that's probably an admission of guilt. Kathy Hochul calling him guilty. There's Anna Maria, I forgot her last name, who's running with Jumaane Williams, and Tom Suozzi has someone. It is such an important race that I don't have.
Tom Suozzi has Miss Diana Rena.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I do know them. Obviously, you don't.
And Jumaane Williams' running mate, Anna Maria, has received the endorsement of Congresswoman Alessandra Ocasio-Cortez. Okay. Now, as we go down to the assembly races, in the 86th assembly race, there is a race between incumbent Yudeka Tapia and Ms. Poole. All right. Anthony, any comments on this race?
Are we in prediction mode? Because
yes, we are. Yes, we are.
So wait a minute, Bob. Again, you're doing it again. See, and this is where I'm going to get mad on the show, and it's going to be your fault. We had a whole meeting last night about this. When we were going to have predictions. Are we having it now, or are we going to have it with Patrick? We can't have both.
Well, I think we're going to have much more to talk about with Patrick.
When are we going to have it, Bob? Answer my simple question that I've been asking you for 2 days. When are we having this segment? Now or later?
Let's do it now and see if Patrick has anything to add. Because, okay, 4086.
Well, to answer your question, her name is not Miss Poole. Her name is Miss Stewart, Miss Poole
Stewart. Yes, you're right. She's the Community Board 5 secretary.
Right, and if you're asking for my prediction, I would venture to go as far as saying that I believe Yudeka will win very handily. Probably in the areas of 75 to 80%.
I would agree with you on that. I see our guest has joined us, but we're talking about the Democratic primary for Assembly right now. So there is the 84th Assembly District where Amanda Septimo, the incumbent.
See, this is what happens, Bob, when you take the agenda and work it the way it's not supposed to. The producer put Patrick on, and Patrick was glad to have you because you told the producer we were going to have the predictions in the Patrick McManus segment. So now you change it, and what happens? Hello, Patrick. So why don't we ask Patrick?
All right, let's then go back to the governor's race.
Whoa, we're in the middle of lieutenant governor's race. You're not going to acknowledge Mr. McManus?
I said it. I said hello.
You said it. Yeah, Bob, let's do it. Please do it right. Mr. McManus, how you doing? This is Professor Anthony RIVIECCIO.
I think he's got a little problem with his sound.
Yeah, I don't blame him. I'm ready to cut off too. Patrick, can you hear me? No, he's gone. So what's your prediction on the lieutenant governor race, Bobby?
Lieutenant governor, I believe Anna Maria will win with the endorsement of AOC.
I don't think the AOC endorsement has anything substantive to do with it, although I do think it will take her over the top. We have both met her. I think she's very enlightening, very charming. I think she'll be a great lieutenant governor. She will, of course, shake up the establishment within the Democratic Party with her election. But nevertheless, I think she will squeeze it out. It will not be a landslide by any stroke of the imagination, but I think she'll get 5 or 6 percentage points higher than the other.
Right. Let's go to the assembly because we'll talk with Patrick on the governor's race when he comes on later. We spoke about Utica Tapia. The 84th Assembly District is Amanda Septimo versus Albert Torres, who is the lawyer for the Bronx Democratic Party at one time. How do you see that race?
You know, I think that's going to be a fascinating race in more ways than one. I think Mr. Torres does have his core group of people. I believe that will probably get him about 20 to 25%. He will get higher than that, I believe, because Miss Septimo still has a lot to prove. She's one of the few incumbents that lost her last election, right? So an incumbent that loses their last election has a lot to prove to the general public. So although I do believe Mr. Torres will get 25, 30% on his own, some anti-Septimo vote might slip in. If Mr. Torres gets higher than 35%, be it in a loss, I would tell Miss Septimo to look out.
And what Anthony's talking about, it was a mistaken ballot that had Carmen Arroyo's name on it, where she was off the ballot and she got more votes than Miss Septimo there 2 years ago. Our next race, the 82nd Assembly District, Michael Benedetto, who right now is giving away $250,000 at the Hutchinson River Bridge over Westchester Avenue to put in a traffic island there, and cameras, I should say. I don't know what kind of cameras. I'm going to guess they're going to be speed cameras or red light cameras, but he's putting cameras in at a cost of $250,000 right now. And at 1 o'clock, he will be in Throggs Neck at the Throggs Neck houses giving out food with, I don't know why 80th Assembly District Assemblywoman Natalia Fernandez is there, because that's not her district. But, you know, this is one of the problems we have with these elected officials. When they're, when they're in office, they're now running for a higher office again. And she's done it before. She ran for borough president, and now she's running for state senate. So I'll ignore my district and go into my new district and try and get votes. Would you agree, Anthony?
I think, to go back to your original analysis, I think Mr. Benedetto will win, but I think that district is going to change quite a bit. And I think the votes of both Mr. Quarterbaum and Mr. Soto are going to be very telling in more ways than one. But I do believe Mr. Benedetto on his name, because he said one thing to me that I think resonates a lot. And he said it at a recent debate, that he said he was the only one that was sitting there with all three candidates that lived in the district all his life. And whether you agree or disagree with him, the other two candidates do not. And they've been accused of not even being involved in the realm of community. So
I mean, I agree, Anthony, that
Mr. Benedetto.
I agree Mr. Benedetto will win. He'll probably get around 60%. The other two, well, I'll say what Mr. Benedetto said at one of the debates also, that my two opponents don't have a resume to come after me. All right. In other words, they're not involved in local politics, in the community board, in the school, anywhere. So they really don't have a resume that can go up against Mr. Benedetto. Let's move to the 81st Assembly District, where, by the way, Mr. Soto, one of Mr. Benedetto's opponents, has the backing of Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez, the Congresswoman. Now, in the 81st Assembly District, current Assemblyman Jeffrey Dinowitz.
Well, is there a reason why you keep mentioning lovely Congresswoman Miss Ocasio-Cortez, but you're not mentioning who the people who are backed by county, such as Mr. Benedetto? You know, maybe that means something to some people in the district. You don't seem to be mentioning that. It's always, oh, they're endorsed by AOC. Oh, they're endorsed by AOC.
Well, it's not AOC. It's a DSA, Democratic Socialists of America. And
right, but my point being is that you just said you thought Benedetto would win, right?
Correct.
You just said Utica Tapia should win, right?
Correct.
Who are they backed by?
Who are they backed by? Themselves. Okay.
No, oh my. See, Bob, again, you got to learn how to report the news versus reporting your opinion. Okay.
What you're saying,
they are backed by Bronx Democratic
so you're
County.
saying,
That doesn't make them angels. Some people would say just the opposite, but they're backed by Bronx Democratic Party.
so you're saying that every incumbent is backed by the Bronx Democratic?
I didn't say that. I'm saying the candidates that we've mentioned so far, some of them are backed by county.
They're all
incumbents. You have not mentioned that. All you keep mentioning is this person is backed by AOC.
They're all incumbents, Anthony. So naturally,
you know that there is a publishing company that wants to make life easier for you as a writer. This publishing company is called World Inkers Printing and Publishing. We publish in all different languages, and we're looking for writers of all genres, all formats. We're looking for scholars, ghostwriters, playwrights, poets, short fiction, novelists, you name it. We're looking for anybody who is interested in writing and the craft of writing to be in touch with us. You can reach us at info.worldinkers@gmail.com. With World Inkers Printing and Publishing, you do not require a lot of money to publish with us. Contact us today at info.worldinkers@gmail.com. Become a winner with other authors at World Inkers Printing and Publishing. Give us a shot. We will surely finish you. Are you curious about financial literacy? Then take a look at Professor Anthony RIVIECCIO's new program on Parrot TV. It's called Financial Focus University. This is an excellent program to learn about questions related to your own finances post-COVID, and how you can manage your money, how you can work with your tax situation. And this is an excellent and informative discussion of financial literacy. With Professor Anthony RIVIECCIO, your financial problems will be solved at Parrot TV with Financial Focus University.
all right, Anthony, before we bring on our host, we have two more assembly races. And if you can be brief instead of, be brief in your answer. Okay, we have the 81st Assembly District, which is Jeffrey Dinowitz, facing Miss Jessica Walford, who is backed by the AOC PAC. Jeffrey Dinowitz is the county committee secretary to the Bronx Democratic Organization. Okay, and is backed by the Bronx Democratic Organization. In 30 seconds, your prediction on this race.
I think it's going to be a tough race. I think Jessica is pretty much in the same situation that Mr. Soto is. She's a candidate on the rise, but really has no structure. I think Mr. Dinowitz will win, but I do believe Ms. Jessica Walford will have a very respectable showing. I expect it to be 65-35 for Mr. Dinowitz.
That's what it was with George Diaz, who had no backing and spent nothing. Ms. Walford has the backing, like I say, of AOC, and has a lot of it. There is that 35% is built in for Jeffrey Dinowitz. Now, we also have to look at what's happening in Riverdale, where Jeffrey is strong. Elliot Engel lost in the last 2 years. Andy Cohen left. He became a judge. So Jeffrey's son is now the councilman. And when we look at the state Senate, Alessandra Biaggi was there, and now she's leaving, so that seat's open, and there's going to be a fight for that seat. So Jeffrey's in real trouble with the backing there. There's nobody that's on his side except his son now. So Bowman he's the current congressman. He should be with Walford because he's DSA. So I'm going to say that race is too close to call. Okay, I don't think we can give a prediction on that race. And the final race would be the 78th Assembly District with incumbent Jose Rivera. Is he backed by the Bronx Democratic Organization, Anthony?
I believe he is.
Well, yeah, I don't think he knows that. Then you have two challenges. One is Community Board 7 Chair Emmanuel Martinez, and the other is political gadfly, if you want to call him, George Alvarez, who ran in the 79th Assembly District 2 years ago and came in third. Any comments on that race?
I'll be brief. It's a district that is evolutionary. It is changing. Of course, this is why I'm sure George Alvarez jumped into this race, because that district is changing very, very much. Jose Rivera has been the longtime legislator there, between both being the assemblyman as well as the councilman there. He's been a legislator there for 40 years. He has been winning his races in a declining fashion the last several years. However, Mr. Martinez nor Mr. Alvarez has really have not put any traction into the race. When we had a poll in our Facebook group, Northwest Bronx Democrats, and we included Shaniqua Charles in our survey, Shaniqua Charles actually won, and Jose Rivera came in second. And what I thought was very telling was that both Mr. Martinez and Mr. Alvarez came in third, much more lower than I thought. So to answer your question, take Shaniqua out of the picture. I think Jose wins handily. I think Jose wins with a total of maybe 65%, the other 35% scattered between the both.
Well, Anthony, every year that Jose has a race, I keep saying he's going to lose. This year, though, I'm going to agree with you, he's going to win, but I think he's going to win by the skin of his teeth with 55% and the other 45% split between the other two candidates. And let's welcome our guest, Mr. Patrick McManus, the Bronx chair of the Conservative Party. Patrick, please explain to us what the Bronx Conservative Party is all about.
The Bronx Conservative Party, we're about bringing conservative values, family values, common sense values back to our community. We've kind of lost sight, and on the Democratic side, your common sense, family-oriented Democrats are being steamrolled by the left wing of the party, and they have lost their voice. And to a lesser degree on the Republican side as well. I'm trying to bring common sense, family values back to our communities, and I want all sides, all common sense members of the community to join in with us. That's our goals going forward.
Okay, we've had two Supreme Court decisions in the past 2 days.
Yes.
Would you like to comment on them?
Sure, absolutely. First off, as far as the Second Amendment ruling, the concealed carry in New York State, especially at this point in time, it's blatantly obvious. Regulating legal gun owners does absolutely nothing. It's been painted to sound cliche. I think, people have been misled into believing what, gun ownership, legal gun ownership has been mixed with illegal gun ownership. Crimes are not being committed by people who hold homeowner permits or restricted to only having their firearms in homes in New York State. And they're all being lumped together. There needs to be common sense when it comes to carrying firearms. They're a very dangerous instrument. And again, our problem in our streets is not legal gun ownership. And that is the only type of gun ownership that can be regulated with new laws. So, restricting that is not going to solve our problem. What needs to be done is there has to be consequences for illegally carrying firearms. You go back a few years ago when we had the mandatory 1 year for carrying a firearm on your person. People would not carry them. They would hide them somewhere. As Robert mentioned earlier, if people have guns on their hips, they're going to pull them out and use them. Okay, they're more apt to do so. Now, since there's no consequences for illegally having a gun on your person, instead of these individuals that illegally possess guns hiding them in a wheel well of a car or leaving them in their apartment, and when something jumped off, they used to run upstairs to get their gun, or they'd have to run. Okay, now those illegal guns are on their hip because they know, even if they are caught, they're going to walk right back out on the street, and it's a misdemeanor, it's a slap on the wrist, and there is no consequences. So that is our problem. And until we address that, which we're actually going in the opposite direction, whereas our current electeds want to prosecute legal permit holders for violating rules such as carrying outside when you have a premise permit. They will be charged with a felony, whereas somebody who has no permit and is caught with an illegal firearm is charged with a misdemeanor. It seems backwards and counterintuitive to have those kind of laws.
And on the second issue of the Roe versus Wade, I know the Conservative Party is very against abortion. And
yes,
comment on that.
Well, my comments on that is, again, the people have been misled to believe that Roe versus Wade actually gave rights. As I believe Anthony said earlier in conversation, Roe versus Wade actually took rights away. It was not a ruling, because it's not technically, it's not a law, it's ruling. It never granted rights. It took rights away from individual states. So with the repeal of Roe versus Wade, for example, here in New York, our abortion laws are going to become, in my opinion, even more atrocious than they are now. You know, there's New York state law is so contradictory. In New York, if you murder a woman who's pregnant beyond 24 weeks, or even if you just assault a woman and cause a miscarriage to a woman beyond 24 weeks, you're charged with murder of that fetus. Yet the law allows abortion into 32 weeks or somewhere in that neighborhood. Now, how do you reconcile those two laws? You know, a woman, if you assault a woman at 26 weeks and she loses the baby, you could be charged with murder. That same woman the next year can decide to have an abortion at 32 weeks, and it's perfectly legal. To me, that's very contradictory, and I can't reason that out.
Patrick, quick question for you.
Yes, Anthony.
Quick question for you. I don't know if you're aware, but J.P. Morgan came out this morning. They're one of the first big institutions in the United States that said they would pay for travel for any of their employees to get an abortion. So my question to you is this. You said a few moments ago that as the law is now written, up to a certain period of time, that would be considered murder. So would it be reasonable to conclude, in the Conservative Party's opinion, that J.P. Morgan would be aiding and abetting murdering people because they're willing to pay for abortion?
Well, absolutely. According to the law as it stands right now in New York State, they would actually be guilty of that.
Would the Conservative Party consider asking all of their members to take money out of J.P. Morgan Bank?
Again, as a conservative, I believe in the individual's rights. I personally would do so. I would recommend it, but it's an individual's right. That is part of the conservative ideal, is less regulation on our everyday lives. I don't want to impose. I don't want the government to impose regulation on me. Therefore, I don't want to impose regulation on others.
Last question in the same subject matter. So then would you agree or disagree with the movement that's taking part in Washington this morning, that they're looking at the J.P. Morgan decision and the federal government is saying, well, maybe we'll create a fund, a national fund, so anyone that wants an abortion, the government will just pay for the traveling costs. How do you feel?
Well, again, that's prohibited by the, I'm forgetting the name. There's an act that prohibits federal spending on such a subject. I forget, maybe you guys remember off the top of my head. I can't remember. There is a constitutional act that prohibits the federal government from doing that.
So this is a private company, though, private corporation.
No, Anthony just asked the federal government setting up a fund.
Okay.
Okay, so that is actually currently prohibited is the Grant Act. I forget the name of the act, but there is an act in place right now which creates the whole controversy on the federal government funding Planned Parenthood in regards to them actually being an abortion service or a family planning service. I lean to the fact that the sole purpose of Planned Parenthood is actually abortion, and therefore they should be banned from receiving federal funding.
Mm-hmm. All right, one final question, and it's about the mask mandates. What is the Conservative Party's view on mask mandates and getting forced vaccinations?
Absolutely against it. Again, personal freedoms. We don't want the government meddling in our everyday lives. There's a place for government, but government is not, their place is not regulating our everyday lives and activities. Mask mandates are first of all, it's been proven to be ineffective. The vaccines have been proven to be ineffective, but that's aside from all of the point. There is no point that the government should regulate somebody's daily activity. To walk out of your house to say you have to wear a mask, that goes way beyond the government's authority. And, we need to, as citizens, start realizing this and start realizing we have the right to make decisions for ourselves. One of our biggest problems, our generations, the last few generations have been raised to look at the government for answers. Mm-hmm. Whereas this country was founded on us telling the government what the answers are. Somehow everything has gotten turned around, and we need more people to get educated and realize this. The government is not the answer. The people are the answer. And especially our younger generations now. Every problem they face, they think the government has the answer. And this is one of the biggest problems in our society, and we need to get away from that.
I'll agree with you on that, because 25 years ago, I asked a Democratic city council member, why don't you educate the people? And he said, we don't want to educate them, then they won't vote for us. We want to keep them dependent on government subsidies. So this way they're dependent on us and they have to vote for us. Let's move on, though, to the governor's race. All right. Or better yet, what do you think? How would you rate Kathy Hochul's job and why?
She is atrocious. She's a continuation of Andrew Cuomo's failed policies. Andrew Cuomo was removed or forced from office for a reason. I find it ironic that people are accepting that Kathy Hochul has come in and for the most part, just continued much of the same policy that Andrew Cuomo was driven out of office for. And again, people don't realize it. And to me, it's common sense, and we see it. All of Cuomo's failed policies are still in effect today. So why was he run out of office?
Patrick, if I might, before we sort of go up the ladder, I'm going to sort of go down the ladder for a moment to pick up on what you just said. So let's talk about the Bronx Conservative Party for a moment. So if we have to turn these things around, then what has the party been doing as far as activities, events, mobilization? What has the Bronx Conservative Party been doing the last year or two, or maybe the next year or two, to mobilize the Bronx Conservative Party forces even more?
Well, as Anthony, as you know, and Bob, you know as well, Bill Newmark ran this party for many, many, many years. The party in those years at the end became very stagnant. I took over at a very turbulent time with the pandemic going on, and I have internally been trying to awaken those conservatives that are already registered, as well as I've been speaking, as you guys know, with a lot of Democrats that are fed up. I'm trying to bring them into the party. Due to constraints of the pandemic through 2020 and well into 2021, our hands were pretty tied. I'm trying to put together events, and now that things are opening up, one of our issues is things cost money. It's hard to put events together and invest money in an event that, on the whim of our current leaders, can be canceled. Every day I'm concerned, especially here in New York City, they talk COVID numbers are going up. I'm looking around. I see less people being less sick, yet we're trying to be sold this. So at this point in time, we're working. I've resumed some improvements in our headquarters on Morris Park Avenue. We're going to be having some exciting candidates coming up for this November. We have a couple of candidates in the district, and we're going to be working on having workshops and educational meetings at our office. And you could look to some invitations coming out. I'm going to open it to everyone, which was one of the issues. My predecessor, meetings were closed. They were only open to members of the party. I am looking to change that because I can't recruit new membership if I only allow current membership in. And again, we want to educate people to common sense, that what our leaders that continually get elected are selling us is not best for us. AOC, she represents the district where my headquarters is. AOC has done nothing for her district. She promotes herself on the national stage. She does nothing for the district. She was very proud to raise, I think it was $8 million for the people of Texas. But what has she done for homeless people in her home district? What has she done for veterans in her home district? What has she done for the average citizen in her home district? She has done nothing but promote herself. And I forget who made the point of Natalia Fernandez also represents the district. She promotes herself on a greater stage. We need to work on educating the residents of these districts that the people you are continually electing are not working for you, they're working for themselves. Because they do little food handouts here and there, as Natalia is doing today. I just found out, not in her district. They paint themselves as heroes, but all that does is create a name for themselves. It's not really helping the communities.
But Patrick, you indicated that you might have some new heroes. Come this electoral season coming up.
Yes.
Share that a little bit with us. What kind of candidates do you have coming up? What districts are you particularly looking at? Who are these heroes?
My most exciting is for State Senate 34th District, Alessandria Biaggi's old seat. We have a candidate, Samantha Zerka. She grew up, she didn't grow up, she lived in Throgs Neck for 32 years. She's a registered independent. She's not a Republican, she's not a conservative, she's not a Democrat. She's an independent. But she believes in our core values. She believes in community. She believes in family values. She believes in the constitutional rights. And I'm looking forward to introducing her around to all the communities in the district and even outside of the district.
And of course, you'll give her our number so we can have her on the show.
No, absolutely. We're working on the rollout. She's going to be
Anyone else?
At our office on Morris Park Avenue.
Anyone else?
We have locally, we have John Greeny. He's going to be running in the 82nd. With all these number changes, it is so hard for me. He's running 82nd against Benedetto. I think you guys may be familiar with his resume.
Yeah, the former Republican Party chair.
Yes, he's the former Republican Party chair. And some of the other races we have Kevin Pasmino in the 81st Assembly. Unfortunately, he was supposed to have the Republican line, but there was some clerical issues, and we're still trying to restore him on the Republican line for November, but I don't think it's going to happen.
What about the 80th Assembly District?
80th Assembly, it's there's an interesting. I was getting there, Robert. We have Tiz Nastasio. Everybody, again, I know you guys are very familiar with Tiz.
We had her on already.
I'm sorry?
We had her on the show already.
Okay. She's a very community-oriented person, been in the community, been a teacher. There's some interesting issues in regards to that district in relation to the 34th Senate with Natalia Fernandez, and for what I believe a ruling came down just 2 days ago in state Supreme Court that shows that there is a distinct possibility that Tiz can run unopposed in November, which is very interesting and exciting. In my opinion, we stand to gain if we win the 34th, we stand to gain not only a common sense seat in the state Senate, it will also give us a common sense seat in the state assembly. So it's a very I'm sorry.
If Fernandez loses the 34th, she can't run in the 80th?
This is what I understand from a Supreme Court ruling on what is today? Friday? I believe it was Wednesday night. The ruling came down.
Because going back to what Congressman Adriano Espaillat did, he ran twice for Congress, lost, and then continued to run for state Senate. So that's why you see that
the issue, the way the law was predicated on all primaries occurring on the same day.
Mm-hmm.
This year, the ruling, it was challenged. It went to court because we have as they put it, bifurcated primary. So the issue is Natalia Fernandez at this point is unopposed for her seat in the Democratic Party. So there is no opportunity to substitute a candidate on that line. Now, if she wins the primary in August, as of November, as of Tuesday, she's going to be on the ballot for November in the assembly. That's as of June 28th. Now, in the August 23rd primary, if she wins the 34th seat, she cannot appear in November on two different lines.
Mm-hmm.
So she has to make
the
80th assembly, and there's no grounds to replace her on that line.
Well, wait a minute, and I'm not an expert on this, Patrick. Everyone will tell you this is the only part of the process that I actually don't want to know about. But to my understanding, every July, County Committee of the Bronx, Democrat County Committee, meets. And part of that responsibility this year could be that if Natalia Fernandez, like you said, she's going to be the assemblywoman, she can step down. And county, since they're meeting in July, as they traditionally do, that's a traditional meeting.
Okay.
They can dictate who should step in.
No, Anthony,
they can do that for the remainder of her term.
Wrong, Anthony.
Change the ballot in November.
Right, but no, you're absolutely right. But the way I understand it, her term is until the end of the year.
Right, but Anthony.
So that would make the new appointed person the assembly candidate, win or lose. They will be the assembly person till the end of that year.
Anthony, let me explain, as we're running out of time, that this occurred with Jeffrey Dinowitz when Oliver Coppell became Attorney General. The county committee of the assembly district will vote for the assembly replacement, not the entire Bronx, but only of the
No, I
assembly.
didn't mean the entire Bronx, but as you know, Robert, those meetings traditionally take place
Right.
in July. So
Well,
I'm just saying
it could happen
that
anytime.
following Patrick's analogy, there's a plausibility that county already, Bronx County, Bronx Democratic County,
Right, some names have
already have that in their playbook and make the switch before August.
Right, names have surfaced already. We don't want to give them out yet, but then, and this is the same thing that happened with Robert Johnson.
Bob is recommending me, but I turned it down.
Robert Johnson, was nominated for judge, left his seat, and Darcel Clark was put in. And it looks like we're almost at the end of our time. So, any final words, Patrick?
No, other than I want everybody.
Patrick, how can people reach you?
Our office is located at 943 Morris Park Avenue. It's been dormant for a while, but you're going to see plenty of activity there through the summer. We're going to be manning the office. I'm working on getting a website up. We still are not up, but we do have.
Can I get a gun permit at your office?
We have a Facebook. We'll be more than happy to help you, Anthony.
All right.
We can't get it for you, but we will be more than happy to help you.
All right,
Patrick, I want to thank you for joining us today. I mean that very sincerely.
We'll let our audience know in the future when your website is up. And I want to thank you for coming in and thank my co-host, Anthony RIVIECCIO. This is Preston Roberts signing off for Talking Bronx Politics and
Goodbye,
beyond.
Bob Press. Goodbye, Bob Press.
All right, Preston.
Listen to the people. Listen to humanity. Listen to